In today's class, we will be studying about the brain and behavior. In yesterday's class, we read about the nervous system. Now, we will be specifically study about the brain and how brain guides human behavior. The brain that we have today is a result of evolution over millions of years. So, it is a evolutionary process. The brain wasn't the size and wasn't this developed millions of years ago. If you have read about early man and whatever they did, so it was a result of their brain structure, the development of their brain. Okay, so for them some parts of the brain were not as developed as it is developed among homo sapiens. So the limbic system, brainstem and cerebellum are the oldest structure, while the cerebral cortex is the latest development in the course of evolution. So those other systems were the oldest structures. They were present millions of years ago as well, but cerebral cortex that we have today in our brain, this is one of the latest development. So this is present in modern human beings. An adult brain weighs about 1.3 kg and contains around 100 billion neurons. So you have studied about neurons. So the brain itself has 100 billion neurons. However, the most amazing thing about the brain is not its number of neurons, but its ability to guide human behavior and thought. So whatever we do in our lives is guided by our brain. Okay, the brain sends signals, the brain controls our thought process, our behavior and everything. So the brain is organized into structures and regions that perform specific functions. Okay, so every part performs specific functions. And brain scanning like MRI, CT scan, all those reveal that while some mental functions are distributed among different areas of the brain, many activities are localized also. Okay, so some activities in the brains are localized. For example, the occipital lobe of the brain is specialized area for vision. So in your later chapters we will be studying about vision, about the eye, then you will study about occipital lobe in details. Now let us look at the structure of the brain. So the brain is divided into three parts: hindbrain, midbrain and forebrain. So each and every part of the brain contains various structures. So we will be looking at these structures and their functions. So let us begin with hindbrain. So the hindbrain consists of the following structures. The first one is medulla oblongata. So it is the lowest part of the brain. Remember, it is the lowest part of the brain that exists in continuation of the spinal cord. So it exists in continuation with the spinal cord. Okay, and it is the lowest part of the brain. It contains neural centers which regulate basic life supporting activities like breathing, heart rate and blood pressure. This is why medulla is known as the vital center of the brain. It has some centers of autonomic activities also. So you know which are autonomic activities. You have studied in your autonomic nervous system about autonomic activities. So this particular part, medulla, it has some centers for those activities. Okay, so here you have to remember these points. Okay, so this is about memorizing and remembering. So remember that it is the lowest part of the brain and it exists in continuation with the spinal cord, and it has the centers for autonomic activities, uh, and it supports activities like breathing, heart rate and blood pressure, and these are what autonomic activities. Okay, So now let us come to pons. So pons is connected with medulla on one side and with the midbrain on the other side. Okay, so midbrain comes after hindbrain. Okay, so you can see in the figure also, if you get confused. So pons, see in the figure you will see where is pons. Okay, so pons, it is connected with medulla on one side and midbrain on the other. Okay, and a nucleus, a neural center of pons receive auditory signals relayed by our ears. It is believed that pons is involved in sleep mechanism, particularly the sleep characterized by dreaming. It contains nuclei which affects respiratory movement and facial expressions also. Okay, so remember the functions of pons. Remember the location of pons, where it is situated. It is situated on between the medulla and midbrain on the other side, and it receives auditory signals relayed by our ears. That is the function of pons, and it is involved in sleep mechanisms, especially sleep characterized by dreaming. So when we are dreaming, then your pons are working. Okay, so also our facial expression, whenever we feel something, there is a facial expression on our face which is controlled by pons. Okay, so these are the function. Remember the functions and the location of pons. Then we will talk about cerebellum in the next slide. Cerebellum is the highly developed part of the hindbrain, which can easily recognized by its wrinkled face. So you must have seen diagrams of the brain. So the wrinkled surface that you see of the brain is the cerebellum. So it maintains and controls body posture and equilibrium of the body. Okay, so the posture that you have, you walk or sit, all these are maintained by your cerebellum. So its main function is coordination of muscular movements. So think that if you do not have coordination of your muscular movement, then what will happen? You won't know how to walk, you won't know how to pick up things, you won't know how to run. So it is very much important. Okay, so that our muscle movements are coordinated. So this is done by cerebellum. Though the motor commands originate in the forebrain, the cerebellum receives and coordinates them to relay to the muscles. So motor commands, it originates in the forebrain. We are going to study forebrain after midbrain. Okay, then you will understand. So motor commands originate in forebrain, but the cerebellum receives and coordinates those commands, and it gives the information to the muscles. Okay, though motor commands are originated in forebrain, but the cerebellum sends them to the muscles. Okay, so it also stores the memory of movement patterns, so that we do not have to concentrate on how to walk, dance, or ride a bicycle. So these comes as automatic behavior, right? So when we are walking, we are not thinking that how we have to lift our leg and keep a step, put a step. So we do not have to think about it, it just comes automatically, and it happens because the memory of these movements are stored by the cerebellum. Okay, so now let us talk about midbrain. So midbrain is relatively small in size, and it connects the hindbrain with the forebrain. Okay, so we have studied about hindbrain. After hindbrain comes the midbrain, and the midbrain connects hindbrain with forebrain. A few neural centers related to some special reflexes and visual and auditory sensations are found here. Okay, so we have studied about neural centers. So some specialized neural centers uh, which are related to special reflexes and visual and auditory sensations are found here. The things we see, the things we hear, and you must have studied about reflex action. So those neural centers are found here, okay, in your midbrain. An important part of midbrain known as reticular activating system, known as RAS, is responsible for our arousal. Okay, it makes us alert and active by regulating sensory inputs. Okay, so the arousal that happens in our day-to-day lives, it is because of the RAS system which is present in midbrain. It also helps us in selecting information from the environment. So in the environment, there are so many things that we select to concentrate on. Okay, imagine if there are so many things present around you. So if you cannot select on which to concentrate, will you be able to concentrate? No, you have to do the selection, you have to filter the information, and this is done in the midbrain. Okay, so now we will be studying about the forebrain in the next slide. Now let us talk about the forebrain. So forebrain is considered to be the most important part of the brain because it performs all cognitive, emotional and motor activities. Okay, so everything is done here. So the forebrain has some major parts. So they are divided into 4 parts, which are known as hypothalamus, thalamus, limbic system and cerebrum. So let us discuss about all these parts one by one. So hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is one of the smallest structures in the brain, but it plays a vital role in our behavior. It regulates physiological processes involved in emotional and motivational behavior such as eating, drinking, sleeping, temperature regulation and sexual arousal. It also regulates and controls the internal environment of the body, that is heart rate, blood pressure, temperature, and regulates the secretion of hormones from various endocrine glands. So like I said that it is the smallest part of the brain, but still it plays a very vital role in our behavior, how human beings are behaving, how you are behaving, or how I am behaving. So everything, not everything, but it is regulated by this small structure of the brain. So our emotional and motivational behavior, okay, like for example, whether you are hungry or you are not hungry, whether you want to sleep or you don't want to sleep, you are feeling thirsty. So you have a normal body temperature or a high body temperature. All these things are regulated by hypothalamus, and also it regulates internal environment of the body. Okay, it like heart rate, blood pressure, these automatic functions, these are also regulated by your hypothalamus. Remember the functions, okay. And it also regulates the secretion of hormones from various endocrine glands. So in this chapter only you will be studying about endocrine glands and the secretion of hormones, and then you will understand it better. So now let us move to thalamus. So now thalamus, it consists of an egg-shaped cluster of neurons situated on the ventral, that is the upper side of the hypothalamus. Okay, so where it is situated, thalamus is situated in the upper side of the hypothalamus. Okay, so it has an egg-shaped cluster of neurons. So neurons are there in our brain. I have already told you there are 100 billions of neurons. So thalamus consists of an egg-shaped cluster of neurons, and it is situated at the upper side of the hypothalamus. So it is like a relay station that receives all incoming sensory signals from sense organs and sends them to appropriate parts of the cortex for processing. Okay, so we will be talking about cortex also after this. So what does it do? What does thalamus do is that it is like a relay station. Okay, it receives all the incoming sensory signals from sense organs, whether you are feeling hot or cold. So your sense organs, they have specialized receptors to receive the information from these external stimuli. So the information is passed on to the brain, and in the brain, this particular part of the brain, thalamus, is the part which receives all these sensory signals, and then it is the one which sends them to appropriate parts of the cortex for processing. So cortex processes all this information, and it is sent by your thalamus. Okay, so it also receives all outgoing motor signals coming from the cortex and sends them to appropriate parts of the body. So after the processing, okay, after the processing in the cortex, again all the informations are passed to thalamus, and thalamus sends the signals to appropriate parts of the body. Okay, so remember, the thalamus is like the relay station. It receives all the information and then sends for further processing to the cortex, and from the cortex it receives all the information after the information is being processed and sends it to appropriate parts. Okay, so it plays the role of a relay station. Okay, now let us look at the limbic system in the next slide. So the limbic system is composed of a group of structures that form part of the old mammalian brain. I already mentioned that limbic system is one of the oldest structures. Okay, so that's why it forms part of the old mammalian brain. So it helps in maintaining internal homeostasis by regulating body temperature, blood pressure, and blood sugar level. Internal homeostasis as in a state of equilibrium, a state of balance. So how it can be done is by regulating temperature, blood pressure, and blood sugar level. If our blood pressure keeps changing or our temperatures keeps changing, so we will not be stable, right? So it is done by your limbic system. It has close links with the hypothalamus. Besides hypothalamus, the limbic system comprises the hippocampus and amygdala. So these are another two parts of the brain, hippocampus and amygdala. So the limbic system has hippocampus and amygdala. Okay, so the hippocampus plays an important role in long-term memory. The amygdala plays an important role in emotional behavior. So always remember that if you are asked a question about long-term memory, that which brain part regulates which brain part plays an important role in keeping long-term memory intact, then your answer will be hippocampus. And a brain scan shows that those people who lose their long-term memory, they have damaged hippocampus. Okay, so remember that. and the amygdala plays an important role in emotional behavior. Okay, so we are human beings and we have different emotions, so our emotional behavior is regulated by the amygdala. So this also you remember, this is important from your examination point of view. Okay, so now let us talk about the cerebrum. So cerebrum is also known as the cerebral cortex. I was talking about cortex, so cortex is cerebral cortex and it is also known as the cerebrum. So these terms are used interchangeably, so do not get confused. Somewhere it may be written only cortex, somewhere cerebral cortex, or somewhere cerebrum. It's the same thing. Okay, so this part regulates all higher levels of cognitive functions such as attention, perception, learning, memory, language, behavior, reasoning, and problem solving. So all these are your cognitive functions and these are regulated by the cerebral cortex. Okay, so the cerebrum makes 2/3 of the total mass of the human brain. So so see, this part is quite big. Okay, so 2/3 of the total mass of the brain. Its thickness varies from 1.5 millimeter to 4 millimeter, which covers the entire surface of the brain and contains neural nets, and bundles of axons. So remember what it contains. It contains neural nets, as in it's like a net made by neurons, and bundles of axons. Okay, so all these make it possible for us to perform organized actions and create images, symbols, association, and memories. So basically we human beings are blessed, with all these things. We can create image, symbols, associations, and we can keep memories. So all this is possible because of the cerebral cortex or cerebrum. And now in the next slide we will be looking at how cerebrum is divided into two parts and what are their functions. So the brain has so many parts and they work in coordination so that we can process information and it affects our behavior. Okay, so in one of the previous slide I also talked about that although all the brain parts work together for one particular function, but then there are some localized parts of the brain which performs only one kind of task. Okay, so let us look at that. Okay, so although like for example, if you are seeing a car in the road, then definitely there are other parts of the brain which are involved in the process. Okay, but then your occipital lobe plays a very important role in making you see that car in the road. Okay, so the occipital lobe only performs tasks related to your visual sensation. It will not work or help in processing information of your auditory sensations. The same way your temporal lobe. Okay, temporal lobe will also not be concerned about your visual sensation, but it is only concerned about the auditory information. Okay, so that's why these are known as the localized parts of the brain. But definitely other parts also have to play an important role in auditory sensations and visual sensations. Okay, but these part of the brain are localized because they perform only one task and not other tasks. Okay, so for example, if you are driving a car, you see the road and other vehicles by the function of your occipital lobe. Hear the horns by the function of your temporal lobe. Do many motor activities controlled by parietal lobe, and make decisions by the help of frontal lobe. So see, these examples are very important. You remember them. This is important from the examination point of view. Okay, I can give you different examples and ask you that which part of the brain plays an important role in this activity. Okay, so please read it and understand it. Okay, the whole brain acts as a well coordinated unit in which different parts contribute their functions separately. Okay, so brain is like a group and it helps each other to perform tasks, so every part fulfills or performs its duty. Okay, so and plays an important role in shaping our behavior, how we human beings are. So everything is done by the brain. Okay, so it is important that you remember each and every function and where it is located, you understand everything. So these things you have to understand as well as you have to remember. Okay, so that's all for today's class. We will be starting with another topic tomorrow. The cerebrum is divided into two symmetrical halves called the cerebral hemisphere. So I'm sure you have heard about the left and right hemisphere. So are you a left brain person or right brain person? Those quizzes are common in Facebook. Okay, so I'm sure you must have heard about it, but you may not know what it is. So we will be talking about it. So although the two hemispheres appear identical, functionally one hemisphere usually dominates the other. Okay, for example, the left hemisphere usually controls language, behavior. The right hemisphere is usually specialized to deal with images, special relationships, and pattern recognition. Okay, these two hemispheres are connected by a wide bundle of myelinated fibers called corpus callosum that carries messages back and forth between the hemispheres. Okay, so these two hemispheres, what did I say, are connected by wide bundle of myelinated fibers. So they are connected by some specialized bundle of fiber, and they are known as corpus callosum. Okay, so they carry messages back and forth between the hemispheres. So messages will have to pass from one hemisphere to another, and this is by some specialized bundle of fibers known as corpus callosum. So remember this. Okay, so now you may see that some people are very logical and they're good at language, but other people are good with images, they're into music, they're very creative. So this happens because one person is dominated by its right brain, the other person is dominated by its left brain. Okay, so because of the domination of right or left brain, it reflects on our characteristics, how we are. Okay, so now cerebral cortex has also been divided into 4 lobes. Okay, remember that cerebral cortex is really big. It is the 2/3 of our brain. So it is also divided into 4 lobes, the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, and temporal lobe, and occipital lobe. Briefly we discussed about occipital lobe. Now we will be going into the details. Okay, so the frontal lobe is mainly concerned with cognitive functions such as attention, thinking, memory, learning, and reasoning. Okay, so these are your cognitive activities, but it also exerts inhibitory effects on autonomic and emotional responses. Okay, so it affects our autonomic and emotional responses. Autonomic responses, what are those? Okay, so we have talked about those in the previous topics, and also your emotional responses, as in your emotion, how you react to certain things, what is your emotions. So all these are controlled by your frontal lobe. Okay, so cognitive functions like attention, thinking, learning, all these are controlled by your frontal lobe. Okay, so remember the functions of frontal lobe. Then comes your parietal lobe. So it is mainly concerned with cutaneous sensation and their coordinations with visual and auditory sensation. So by cutaneous sensation I mean sensations in your skin. Okay, so parietal lobe is mainly concerned with sensations in your skin and their coordination with visual and auditory sensations. Visual sensations as in the things that we see, and auditory sensations is the things that we hear. So it coordinates the functions, the sensation of your skin, your eyes and your ears. Okay, and the temporal lobe is primarily concerned with the processing of auditory information. So temporal lobe, it processes auditory information. It helps in processing auditory information. Okay, a memory for symbolic sounds and words resides here. Okay, so understanding of speech and written language depends on this lobe. So now I'm talking, okay, I have a speech and I know language, so all these things depends on your temporal lobe. Okay, some people they have problem with their speech. Okay, they have problem with their speech, they cannot speak like other people, so there can be it can be related to temporal lobe. Maybe there is something wrong with the processing in temporal lobe, or it is damaged or something like that. Okay, then comes your occipital lobe. It is mainly concerned with visual information as in the things that we see. It is believed that interpretation of visual impulses, memory for visual stimuli and color visual orientation is performed by this lobe. Okay, so in the later chapter we will be studying in details about what color visual orientation is, how visual impulses are interpreted. But as of now, you know that everything which is related to your visual field, it is controlled by the occipital lobe.